Welcome to Everything Home Education, homeschooling, unschooling, all those words. And I'm your host, Gail Hanlon, and I'm delighted to be with you today as we are going to discuss a very important process in, or a very important word that many people need to find for them when they're talking about getting started, taking back control and responsibility for the education of their own children. I will apologize for not having any makeup on, but this is the real me. So I hope you'll stay with us. I'm going to check all of our tech stuff while I put on my intro, and I hope you'll get comfortable and stick around. We're going to talk about deschooling. I am here, but we are having some technical difficulties. So if you can hear me, I will try to adjust things here so that we can go ahead with our live. So, curiouser and curiouser, I'm gonna just make it do it here. So, give me a moment. Thank you for your patience. And let me see if I can do. Okay, it is giving me some issues. So I'm still trying it out here. Don't know what's going on, but hey. Aha! There's one. Okay, so we seem to be able to move around now. Don't know what the delay was with my computer, but we are also having an issue with two of the locations that we're trying to stream to in Facebook, but we should be good on Twitter, my own personal Facebook page, um, LinkedIn, YouTube, uh, that so we should be good elsewhere. So what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about deschooling. So if you've heard the term deschooling, you should be kind of wondering because we've heard so many um, negative words. So we're unschooling, we're deschooling, we have that word school in there, which really should not be, because it's not about school. School and education are not the same thing at all. And if you've read any John Taylor Gatto or Ivan Illich, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, being able to de-school is a process of deconditioning. So for the last 200 years, roughly, we have been conditioned to assume certain things. Some of those things are that you can't learn unless you're taught, that you can only learn if you have a structured curriculum that you're being taught, that you have to be in a building that is designed for all these compartments of children broken up into the roughly sorted by date of manufacture. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've heard me say that, and I get that straight from John Taylor Gatto. So those assumptions that we have been fed are pretty much myths. They apply in the system, but they don't apply in real life learning. So home education is a more appropriate term. Everybody and their dog has their own definition of homeschooling. So when you say you're homeschooling to somebody, they might not understand what that means to you. Deschooling is very accurate because it is the process of deconditioning ourselves from all of those assumptions. Now, most of us will understand that a child will automatically learn things. Even if they have challenges or disabilities, they will still learn things. So it's not that they can't learn, it's that people, adults generally, decide how and what they're going to learn without their consent. So we've been conditioned to feel oppressed, and I'm not trying to use that word as a horrible thing, but we have been conditioned and oppressed to be told that we don't count, what we want doesn't matter, and how we learn doesn't matter, because we have to learn this way, this school way. But who said you have to learn that way? I do a whole other program on the history of our education system, so you might be interested in doing that. But we're starting right here with, how do we decondition ourselves and our children to remember and regain their natural love of learning? So you might go online and you might look up deschooling. Probably the first thing you're going to find, and I'm just going to put my glasses back on now so I can see some things here. And I'm going to open up this window and we're going to explore this website because the term deschooling comes from, and hopefully this will work. Yes, there we go. Deschooling Society. Now I'm going to pull this in a bit to try to make it a little easier to read. Not sure if it's going to work, but I can minimize this a bit. So, over lengthy quotations, yes. And those people in the alternative education and deschooling segment of society will probably take care of those in the near future. So the most famous book is by the author I mentioned earlier, Deschooling Society. And it was all about how we come back to the concept of natural learning. All of us probably weren't taught how to speak our language, regardless of what country you're from. You were probably with adults who you listened to, heard, two different things, copied, practiced, played with. You remember playing with sounds? Maybe you have kids that they played with sounds. They would la 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 la, ga 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 ga. They would practice those sounds, and that sometimes they'd make no sense at all. That's okay, because that's what they were doing. They were learning how to speak a language and how to understand it. Now, sometimes we think we're helping kids when we give them more information, but it's not necessarily so. So, deschooling means that we continue that process of natural learning. So, when you've gone to government school for a set period of time, you have been conditioned with all those assumptions in your lives. If you don't get an A on a test, there's something wrong with you. If you don't understand what's being taught or how it's being taught, if you're neurodivergent and you just don't get what they're saying, or you get it much better than other people in your class and you're wondering why they're so slow. We've been convinced to believe all these negative things. First of all, that somebody else has to determine whether what we do is good enough or not. I had a daughter who was doing gymnastics, and the gymnastics instructor kept pestering her to participate in the special gymkhana, the competition that they were having, and my daughter really, I'm just going to see if back to the other scene so that it's a little bit easier to see. When my daughter was doing gymnastics and the gymnastic instructor kept telling her, we want you to compete. She didn't want to. She didn't think she needed to. So let's see if I can get that back again here. Oh, again, some issues with technology. That's okay though. My daughter calmly and confidently said, I know I can do the things that I do. Why do I have to show somebody else and get judged by somebody else? I know I can do it. She was comfortable and confident with what she knew. Why do we look at that as something that's bad? If your children are enjoying what they're doing and they're learning, and they there's my husband.
Not me.
Yes, he puts up with me all the time.
Really, your boyfriend.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, if our children are satisfied and happy with what they're doing, why do we need assessments? Why do we need testing? So that is the underlying idea behind deschooling. Being comfortable and being allowed to learn what you're learning, how you're learning, when you're learning it, by your own choice, by your own agency. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about here was, how do we start? When we first take our children out of the school, when we withdraw them, and we're so eager, most of us go out and buy lots of curriculum because we don't want our kids to be left behind or be left out. Those concepts are not part of real learning. Those concepts are assumptions that we've been taught to believe. Great quote from the book Skip College is, we were taught how to be taught, so we learned to be led. We were taught to be taught, so we learned to be led. And that means you're not thinking for yourself. Well, in deschooling, it's exactly that. De-school. Take away all the school-like things that are in your life. It's okay to have a schedule, a family schedule, without it being overbearing. There are things that we do. We go to bed at a certain time. We wake up at a certain time. We eat our meals together at a certain time. There might be a certain time that we watch TV or play games. All of that's natural learning. Separating kids by age and date of manufacture, not learning. Not the best way to learn, because kids learn from other age groups. So one of the pieces of advice you'll have for deschooling is, allow your children to engage with kids of all ages. The other thing is, don't pile on expectations that you've dragged with you from the school system. Don't go out and buy tons of curriculum. Wait until you've had the chance to decondition from the system. And this will be as much for you as a parent as it is for a child. I have a young girl who comes over to my house, and she still, after 2 years, puts up her hand as if there's anybody else that she has to separate herself from. So I'm still helping her learn that she doesn't have to put up her hand. If she has to go to the bathroom, she can just go. If she has a question, she can just ask it. If she wants to do something, she just has to open her mouth and say, may I do this? Learning that who you are and what you do is not dependent on somebody else's opinion is crucial. We can encourage our children to think about their own things. So when they're playing, wow, it really looks like you're enjoying that. And then they can feel comfortable with enjoying what they're doing. You don't have to tell them that they're learning, even though you might see that they're learning all sorts of things. I've had kids come up to me and say, I just learned this new word. I'm like, wow, how does that feel? That helps them appreciate themselves, their own power, and their own connection to their own learning. It's not, oh, that you get a 60% on that word, you mispronounced it, and you don't know how to spell it yet, so we're going to score you. You can have standards. You can have high standards without having standardization. So when we remove all the school stuff, I have another document here with a list of tips for deschooling. And of course, one of them is age differentiated play, because play is the best way to learn. So don't structure your day like it was school. Don't hand your kids worksheets and workbooks as if it was school. Instead, explain to your children that they have no expectations. We have no expectations for you. You can do whatever you love. And that might be really challenging for them because their lives have been so, especially at school, their lives have been so controlled with them being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They haven't ever had to think for themselves. What do I really want to do? Whereas children who are being disruptive in class or challenging at school, they know what they want to be doing. They know where they'd rather be, what they'd rather be doing, and who they'd rather be doing it with. And they'll let you know it. Good kids that are determined by the system are the ones that are blindly following what they're told, when they're told, how they're told. And helping them see that they have the right and the obligation to themselves to make up their own minds will help them be stronger adults. So when you tell your kids about home education and deschooling, it's very different. And your kids might say, I'm bored, just tell me what to do. That's an indication that your child has been well schooled. They don't know what to do unless you tell them what to do. So we try to explain to them that I'm not going to tell you what to do. You decide what you want to do. What do you feel like? So removing any of the school-like things, books, worksheets, that kind of thing is great. Now, if your child loves doing those things, I had a child who was totally academic, and she wanted to read and read and read, and she loved workbooks, and she didn't want to take stuffed animals to bed. She wanted to take her flashcards to bed. I'm like, okay, if that's what you want. I wasn't telling her she had to do it, but she did it because she loved it. The next thing you can do with deschooling is explore together as a family. Go out, go visit places, go for walks, go to nearby parks and faraway parks. And there's a whole magazine in Ontario called Day Tripping. It's a day tripper magazine, and it's great for ideas on what you can do in a day, where you can go, what you can do, and You do that together as a family, and you have no idea how beneficial it is for natural learning. Allowing kids' eyes to adjust to distances so that they don't become over myopic with the screens. Not saying the screens are bad. There's a lot of really great stuff online, but we really do need to get ourselves out and about and fresh air and seeing things differently. There are museums and historic sites and galleries and plays and so many things that there are out there to see. Sports to watch and participate in. So find those in your neighborhood. If you don't know where those occur, there are, I know there are many cities that have info and the town name. So if it's info and you fill in your town name, you can look that up. Also, you can look up your recreation in your local area, recreation from the city that you can contact. Find other homeschoolers. Best way to find other homeschoolers is during the day when other kids are in school, go to the public library. You'll find homeschoolers. If they're out with kids, you can say, hey, are you homeschooling? Connect with people. You don't have to be online. Although there are lots of places on Facebook and Reddit and so many other online groups that are available to connect with, but I highly recommend going out and connecting with real people in your area. Take the time to dive into your own interests. The things that you might have as hobbies may be of interest to your kids. I know whenever I start doing something, my kids want to know what I'm doing and can they do it too. That's how I got them interested in calligraphy. Wasn't my intent, but I love calligraphy and I love the fountain pens. So when they saw me doing that, they wanted to know how. And so I gave them each their own kits. I have a spinning wheel and I spin wool. I have 2 looms and we create fabric. So the kids might love to see what you're doing, what you're interested in. So make a project, build a birdhouse, just anything, fix things. I renovated 2 homes while homeschooling, and my kids know how to change a toilet. They know how to change the taps on the sink. They know how to lay flooring. Just live your life and do the things that are natural. Your children will learn from those. Every subject, math, English, science, all those things they're in the real world. So when you deschool, you don't have to force these subjects on kids. They occur naturally. If they didn't, we wouldn't have them to put in textbooks. Go have a walk in the forest, get moving, do some physical activity, go swimming together. I already said library. Make sure they have plenty of their favorite books. Used bookstores are excellent. Another great place to meet homeschoolers. Volunteer. My kids and I volunteered for the food bank and for the meal programs around the city. And so we had a great time being present in the community. Watch documentaries and historical things on the History Channel, PBS, all the different stations, History Channel, everything. There are tons of really interesting things that you can watch. And any movie. If you're watching a movie and your child asks you a question, they're learning. They've perceived something that they want to know more about. Or you can ask them, I don't know if I like how that person said that to that other person. What do you think? Ask them for their opinion. Using the internet, of course, looking up things that you're interested in or that your child's interested in is huge. Connect with your relatives. Go visit them. Spend time with them. Ask them to come with you to the walk in the woods or to the park or to do things together. It's wonderful for your children's relationships with your family. Cooking and housekeeping together. Like I said about renovation, that's just another natural learning thing. So deschooling is taking yourself out of the do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told, and opening up their minds to believe in themselves, trust themselves, and regain their curiosity to learn the things that we could have never planned. Anyway, I want to thank you today for joining me. I know it's right a little past our time, but I do appreciate it. And if you appreciate what I do, please leave a comment in under the video. And if you have any other comments, or if you want to share things that you did with your family as when you were deschooling, please feel free. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.